Have you ever felt disconnected, like everything is an uphill battle and going against you? Well, if so, this episode is going to be especially for you. And we're going to talk about spiritual flow. But first, my name's David Gilbert. Welcome to the Golden Life Podcast, where I'm here to help you become the alchemist of your life so you can transform your inner and outer world for the better. This is your invitation to become the alchemist of your life. You decode your heaven on earth and go through the alchemical process. The alchemist is a master of himself so that he can master life. People thought alchemists were turning lead into gold, but they're really crystallizing their soul into form. Alchemize your golden potential. Welcome to the Golden Life. Today, I would say there's an unconscious epidemic, and that is that we have normalized into today's society to go about life feeling disconnected, whether that's from our own feelings and our own internal state, whether that's from the people around us, or even the universe itself. And this is an epidemic because this creates so many problems that we're not even consciously aware of. So today, by stepping into where you're going to learn about the values and how you can embody more spiritual flow, you're going to feel this whole new level of connection that will trickle into every area of your life and hopefully dissolve a lot more resistance along the way. So why is this important? Well, spiritual flow helps you not only feel connected, but it creates this cord, as you're going to learn, this golden thread that connects you with infinite passion. Like, how magical is that? Imagine having access to infinite passion almost about at any moment in your life. And this really is a different way of being that opens you up to intuition, to more presence, and to really experience a universe of possibility. Not a universe or a world or planet of uncertainty like we've talked about in previous episodes. But not only that, it's gonna open you up to the magic of synchronicities. And this is something I've talked about a little bit before in the manifestation episodes, but we're gonna go deeper into that today because this is when life really starts to feel magical. And it's also feedback to know when you are in spiritual flow. And today I'm going to share one of my own stories to really highlight what's possible when you step into more flow, and then the universe gives you these little synchronicities, these little signs to let you know when you're really in that state, as well as some practical exercises to help you kind of navigate and stay connected to your golden thread of infinite passion. So stay tuned. But first of all, one of the best examples that shows this is when this was years ago. I practiced shooting some videos. I was really horrible. I got big into not only practical flow state, like we talked about in the last episode, which if you want to learn how to access the ultimate state of consciousness, where you feel and perform your best on demand, check out the last episode. After studying practical flow, as well as spiritual flow, I was ready to share some of the things that I learned. So I came up with this idea. I'm going to do a show called Living in Flow, and I started shooting videos. Now, I was still pretty bad at videos, and it took a lot of work for me just to shoot a single video. But I was pushing past my comfort zone. I was putting myself out there. I shot a video, I put it out, got some good feedback. Some friends reached out, said, "Hey, I really love that video." My grandma even reached out, said, "Hey, I really love that video." And I started shooting some more. Now, I was probably 3 or 4 deep. And one day when I was getting ready to shooting the video, but I was having a hard time trying to set up the camera all on my own and shoot the video. And then I'd forget about what I was going to talk about and then trying to say it in a good way and then all the things. While I was shooting that, I had a candle burning that I didn't realize I had burning. And during that time, I got so much into flow shooting the video, I wasn't even aware of what's going around me. And what happened ended up being one of the most beautiful synchronicities that I can share, and I actually have proof to share of. And that is this here. For the listeners, I'm holding up this melted piece of wax with this turtle made out of shells at the very end. So to go back, remember I was shooting a video about living in flow. And for the listeners, you could see this wax melted somehow from the top of the candle, and it came down and created almost like a wave. And the little turtle here, which is my own little spirit animal, spirit guide, so it's a symbol that means a lot to me, looks like he's on top of the front of the wave, almost surfing it, literally living in flow, being in flow. And this is a beautiful illustration of what a synchronicity is. This could be hopping in the car in an Uber and having somebody talk about something, or holding something that you were just talking about, or maybe they have a picture and you just, for example, this just happened to me again. They were holding a Polaroid, and my daughter was just shooting Polaroids the day before, and it's been months since she's ever had Polaroids out. Or you go out and you're walking and you have this butterfly fly right in front of you, or you notice a sign that says something that you were just thinking about. It's these weird occurrences that are almost hit you too hard to just be random. And there's something going on deep down. You get that little feeling like, is there something to this? Most likely, yes. That's a little synchronicity. That's a little sign. The universe is just nudging you, say, beautiful, keep going, keep doing what you're doing. Now, coming back to my own story, where I got this beautiful synchronicity of the turtle in flow, not gonna lie, my internal resistance got the best of me. It wasn't too much longer after that, I just stopped the series altogether and I stopped putting it out there. But coming back to how to access that spiritual flow more consistently. And before we jump right in, I want to talk about resistance a little bit more. This is why so many episodes at the beginning of this season of the Golden Life Show, we're talking about the various forms of internal resistance. Because that resistance, what we're holding on to and what's weighing us down is really just baggage. And that baggage is what's going to drop you out of spiritual flow. It's exactly what happened to me. So, first of all, if you go and reframe this force of resistance and you practice letting as much of your baggage go, and then when you see resistance, you could reframe it to being your ally. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go check out episode 13. Well, this is going to help you access spiritual flow more consistently and eventually make it a state of being. And this is really critical to understand. Like in the previous episode, I talked about the practical flow state. And practical flow state takes practical triggers to help induce a practical flow state. But spiritual flow state, what we're really talking about is a state of being. And what helps us elicit states of being? Well, developing, practicing, and eventually embodying specific values. So these 4 values are essence, presence, acceptance, and passion. And if you've listened to all the previous podcast episodes, you're like, hey, David, this sounds like some of the other things you've already talked about. Yes, absolutely. And when you start to embody more of these values, you can access this state of being, which is the same state of being people like Eckhart Tolle were talking about, right? Living in the present, living in the now, living without resistance, and just going through life in the infinite possibility of every moment, and not holding on to all your baggage, and simply being and dropping into presence, deep presence. So how can you practically get there? Well, by practicing these values. So value number 1, essence. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please go watch episode 1, because that really is the foundational episode. That really is the highest form we are looking to get to, crystallize our golden potential. And we do this by stepping into your essence. Because when you live from your essence, that is ultimate freedom and self-love embodied. And why is living in your golden essence the highest aim, the ultimate goal? Well, what happens is you're no longer stuck in the mind or stuck with all this emotional blockages or baggage, or even the physical blockages. And you could see this as when you step into your essence, you just get to let your true light shine. But practically, you could almost see the flow of energy that comes down through the different spheres of your different bodies, right? Because as alchemists, we understand that you have the sphere of your spiritual body, and then this mental sphere, and then the emotional sphere, and then you have your physical, which is more like a rectangle, and these are the different bodies. And energy will come up from the universe, from source, and come into first the spiritual sphere, and then it goes down into the mental sphere, and then the emotional sphere, and then lastly, the physical, usually depicted by a rectangle or square. And we want this free flowing source of infinite energy of the cosmos, of the universe, to come down, divine energy to come down and flow through us. Then eventually it would flow back up and create this cycle going. So you could see, to experience more spiritual flow, you want flow through the different bodies. But now going into value number 2, presence. And today I'm going to put a little bit different perspective on presence. Today I'm going to say another word for presence is being. And this is coming back to, like I said, Eckhart Tolle and being in the deep now, being fully in this present moment. And that means you stay in the awareness that you are always connected to infinite awareness. You're always connected to the true source of who you are in your core, the spark of divine light that makes you up. And as you live connected to awareness, to presence, you start to understand that you can never be separate from source, right? If we're all in the one mind of the creator, well, if you're part of that inside, you can never be separate. And this is a way of being where you get to shine that light of connection, shine that light of awareness, and go through life where when you have an experience come up, and especially if it's a difficult one, you can feel it fully, but never lose your sense of connection. And I know through my own experience that just helps dissipate, because it's when we feel disconnected and overwhelming emotions that we completely break down and that we completely disassociate from life. But if you could keep the light on of your awareness and feel fully, well, that is one of the most powerful ways of being fully present to whatever is happening in life. But not only is presence of value to build for spiritual flow, but you also want to build presence if you want to see the signs from the universe, those synchronicities that I was talking about, that show you when you are in a really high spiritual flow state. And if you're like, David, I want to learn more of how to see these synchronicities, well, go check out episode 10, because that's where I talk about how to find the magic in the mundane, in everyday life, as well as some practices that will help you practice being present. And as you do that, you'll start to see more signs, and then you'll start to understand when these synchronicities pop up, and you'll just be like, oh wow, that's really cool. Or you'll have a really big one like I showed you, like the turtle and the wave coming down, and you're like, okay, I am fully on my purpose. I am fully on path to my purpose and fulfilling my potential. And as an alchemist, that's all you're looking to do. So now moving on to the next value number 3. And this is acceptance. And acceptance is gonna be one of the most important, yet I'm careful of the words to say, but maybe one of the hardest to really start to practice and embody. But why is this? Well, acceptance, where so many of us get stuck, is the lack of acceptance, either internally and or externally. And this is where we've talked about so much about things like lead, right? The mental and emotional baggage that holds you down. and we hit an emotional block because maybe we're scared of some intense emotion, or we just repress some emotions because we don't want to feel it at the time, or we just don't want to feel it. And this becomes a blockage of energy. Now, as I've shared, your past baggage or your past lead is going to continue to steal presence in the present moment. So this is really to say, coming back to acceptance internally, practice integrating those past experiences will give you more presence as well. But it's by embodying acceptance, you can get to more presence. But this also goes externally. The more you can accept the universe for as it is, the less internal resistance you will have. Therefore, you could step further into flow at any moment. And if you're wondering, how can I practice more acceptance internally? Well, go check out episode 14, where we talk about how to unlock your heart and step into more unconditional love. Because as you start to embody unconditional love for yourself, well, then you can truly start to embody unconditional love externally. And acceptance is really another way to say you don't really have expectations of outcome. Because as I've talked about, true love creates just for the sake of creation, not for what it can get selfishly in return. And this is also critical with the manifestation process. And if you want to learn how to have the universe surprise you with something even better than you can imagine, well, that's where practicing acceptance, but also practicing letting go of expectations of what's happening in the external environment is going to give you the opportunity for the universe to surprise you as well. And if you want to go deeper into that process, the manifestation process, well, go check out episode 8 and 9, where I share my stories about the universe and how it surprised me with things better than I could have imagined on my own. Now, going into the fourth value, passion. This is one maybe you haven't heard me talk about as much, but I want you to imagine there is a limitless golden thread. And this golden thread is like an upward spiral, pulling you higher and higher, and by following it, you just stay in this flow. Well, what am I talking about? This golden thread is connecting you to your divine calling, your divine path. And the more that you follow it, which is really to say you're following your deepest desires. Now, I'm going to share in a future episode about this process and how it's tied to the hero's journey to truly fulfill your potential, and we have to lean into those deepest desires, which sometimes can also look like fears. But as you do, the beautiful thing is this golden thread connecting you to this path that is embodied through the feeling of passion. It will drive you forward. And usually when you're following this, you will feel this uplifting, passionate energy. And you could even add on a little bit of a different view of authenticity is attached to this passionate state, right? Your authentic passion. Because so much of our belief systems get built upon the environment in which we grew up in, from culture to our parents and expectations of others. But this is the opportunity to get quiet, those whispers that you hear from your higher self, but it's also this passion that lives. And through my own experience, as well as some of my friends, it's actually something that you have the potential to connect with your solar plexus, your third chakra up, which sits a little bit below your sternum. And you can start to tap into this state where you might feel this uplifting, warm, light energy, almost like light vibration, that's just saying, this is the way to go. Maybe you feel like you're at a crossroads, or maybe you're just going for a walk. Like I shared in the second episode, going into a walk, just practicing staying in pure awareness and having magical synchronicities happen. Another episode to check out. Well, what I was doing with my friend Mickey is we're also following the pull. And it's almost like this visual of a pull, and that feeling of the pull is connected to your solar plexus. And it's just this warm, tingly, light sensation compared to kind of like a shut down, not quite disconnected, but just really no feeling there. And using this to help you navigate life, because you could see it as the golden thread tying you to your path, to your golden potential, and then integrating, then embodying, and then fully crystallizing that golden potential. So this is the pull, right? We can go through life connected or weighed down by our past pain or pulled by our potential. And when you live in this spiritual flow, you open yourself up to more experiences that will pull you to your potential, and then that's going to fill you up with more love and joy, and then you're just in this beautiful flow of passionate energy. You're fully present. You're not resisting what's happening in the external world. You're not holding on to your internal baggage, and you can live authentically by following your authentic passion. Now, if that's not enough, I just want to share one little last tool that served me, because maybe you're like, hey David, how can I practice this? Like, I don't feel anything in my body. Yes, it takes practice to feel more sensations within yourself. That's why meditation is a great tool to help get you connected with your body and subtle energetic shifts. But what's a practical tool to just start to practice, following the pull to your highest potential in each moment that you could use anytime, anywhere? One of my simple favorite practices, which takes practice, for myself, is I like to use a little bit of visualization. And if I have a decision and it's like, do I go this way or this way? I don't know which to go. And this can be for anything. It could be for food. It could be for major life decisions. It could be for whatever the situation is. How do you follow that highest path? I like to visualize, actually almost like Marvel, the ring of Marvel, and open a little portal. And as I open that little portal through the mind, stepping into it, and then I feel into the energy. And for myself, I feel that uplifting energy. And if it's not so much like, just this one or that one. It's if I feel the energy go up and continue and go higher and higher, I know that's a better choice. Because we could have a whole nother episode on choices and the idea of right and wrong versus everything is going to serve you in some way and magically serve you on the path. But anyways, whereas then I'll have the other decision. I'll step out of that. I'll create another Marvel type portal and step into the other option. And as I do that, sometimes I'll feel a blockage. I'll feel energy go and then just block right away. And I know that is a hard no for myself, whereas the other one, there's a lot more positive energy. So I want to follow the positive energy. And then sometimes some decisions are just a little bit more positive energy than the other. Now, if you are more of a kinesthetic, if you're more of a feeler, maybe the energy rises up somewhere else in your body. So you got to adapt this practice to yourself. Or if you're, more of somebody who's more auditory, maybe there's a light sound you can hear. I don't know. Or a visual representation in your mind. But the more that you practice this, the more you get quiet, the more opportunity you have to create that driving rudder in your life to know when you are following your golden thread. So I can't wait for you to step into more spiritual flow, because not only will you experience more love, more joy, more passion, more connection to life itself, well, the universe is also going to give you those magic synchronicities. And when you do, you will know you're on your path. And that's when you can lean, surrender fully into flow, fully into more presence, more being. And then eventually you will step into that golden essence that you are here to crystallize and live into. So thank you for joining me on this journey today. If you have a friend that you would love to help keep you accountable, my invitation for you is just to send them this episode. If this sparks something inside of you, like, yeah, I want to practice living in more spiritual flow, well, guess what? It's more fun when you have more friends to practice it with. So send this episode to your friend, leave a like, hit the subscribe, whatever you could do to show your support, and have a beautiful and golden rest of your day.